Let's continue. Okay, let's continue. For the question that we are doing here, when we check the information that we are given here, on 20 March 2010, the members of the general public applied for the following shares or applied for the shares as follows. For ordinary shares, they applied for 240,000. Or I can say for ordinary shares, we received 240,000 applications. For preference shares, we received 60,000 shares application. For redeemable preference shares, they applied for 65,000 shares. Fine. Since we are doing financial accounting, we know that we must record values or amounts here, meaning all we have to do, we must convert all the number of shares into a value. Back to ordinary shares or back to the question paper. How much is ordinary share? Or how much each ordinary share? Can go up and check. They said ordinary share is 1,85 each. Meaning as long as you want to convert ordinary shares, you multiply by 1,85. As long as you want to convert ordinary shares into a value, we multiply by 1,85. It is given on the question paper. Fine. Preference shares, how much each share? 1,95 cents. As long as we want to convert preference shares, we multiply it by 1,95. It is given on the question paper. Thank you. The last one, redeemable preference shares, how much each share? 1,35 cents. It is given on the question paper. Fine. Let me highlight this one as well. Now let's go. They applied for how many ordinary shares? 240,000 shares. Then we want to calculate the value. Multiply by 1,85. Meaning they applied for 240,000 ordinary shares to the value of how much? 444,000 rand. We are done with this value. We move to the next one. Preference shares. They applied for how many shares? 60,000 shares. Let's convert these shares into money. We multiply by how much each share? 1,95. Meaning the shares that they applied for preference shares, yes, it's 60,000 shares. In value, they applied for shares worth how much? 117,000 rand. We are also done with this one. Let's move to the last one. Redeemable preference shares. They applied for how many? 65,000. Yes. Multiplied by 1,85. In value, they applied for shares worth how much? 87,750,000. I'm sure we are all fine. So now listen to me. We said we are doing the first step, which is application here, meaning we only consider where they are applying. They applied for ordinary shares, we are done. They applied for preference shares, done. They also applied for redeemable preference, we are done. Meaning into our bank, they send money for ordinary shares, preference shares, and redeemable preference shares. So let's calculate our total bank, meaning they send for 444,000. They also send 117,000. They also send 87,750. So let's see in total, they sent how much for application? 44,000, 117,000, 87,750. They sent us how much? 648,750,000 in total straight into our bank. Meaning these people, they sent 444,000 for ordinary shares. They also sent 117,000 for preference shares. They also sent 87,750 for redeemable preference. So in total, they sent us how much? 648,750. Now let's move to the next stage. Back to our notes. We said the second step is what? Issuing of shares or offering of shares. When did we offer the shares? Seems like we offered the same date. So 20/03/2010. Now we are recording offering or issuing, right? Issuing of shares. Now listen to me. Now listen to me. They applied for ordinary shares to the value of 444,000. Secondly, they applied for 15% reference shares to the value of how much? 117,000. They also applied for 10% redeemable reference shares to the value of how much? 8,750. I'm sure you can see that whatever that I recorded on step 1, just carrying forward the amount. So you can see. Fine. Now we are offering shares. Now we are issuing shares after they applied on step 1. When we check the question paper, they said on the 20 March 2010, the directors offered the following to the public. We offered ordinary shares, so I'll write it here. Ordinary shares. When we are offering shares or when we are issuing shares, we call it what? Share capital, share capital, share capital, share capital, share capital. Even back to accounting 1A, what is capital? You guys were like, okay, money to start a business. Here we are offering shares to the public, meaning whoever who's buying these shares becomes the owner of this company. Meaning whoever who buys our shares owns something in our company. So capital, by the way, capital contribution. So since we are dealing with shares, so it's share capital. Fine. We offered ordinary shares, so we call it ordinary share capital. We also offered 15% preference shares. We are offering, so we call it capital, don't forget. Capital. We also offered 10%. We also offered 10% redeemable preference, whatever. Redeemable shares capital. Right. Back to the question paper. Let's start with ordinary shares. We offered how many shares? 210,000. Let's convert this into money. Fine, we'll do it after. For preference shares, we offered how many shares? 60,000 shares. Then the last one, we offered how many shares? 54,000. Fine. Now let's convert these shares again into cash or into a value. How much ordinary share each? 1,85. Then preference shares, how much each? 1,95. Then the last one, 1,35. And now let's just do our calculations. Fine, let's start with ordinary shares. We offered or we issued 210,000 multiplied by 1,85. we issued to the value of 388,500. Then for preference shares, we issued 60,000 multiplied by 1.95, 117,000. Then the last one, we issued 54,000 shares to the public multiplied by 1.5, meaning we issued to the value of 72,900. Why are we recording this amount on the credit side? Share capital. By the way, capital contribution increases on the credit side. Owner's equity. By the way, owner's equity, credit side. Capital, credit side. Done. Before we move to step number 3, we are done with step 1. We are done with step 2. Before we even go far, when we check our ordinary shares here, they applied for 444,000, but we only issued to the value of 388,500. Meaning we must refund them the difference. Thank you. For preference shares, they applied it to the value of 117,000 rand. We issued to the value of 117,000. Meaning here they applied for 117, we issued exactly what they applied for. Meaning there is no need for refund here, because we issued according. Thank you. Let's move to the last one. They applied to the value of 87,750, but we only offered to the value of 72,900. I'm sure you can see. They applied for, let me say, for higher value. We offered or we issued shares with a less value. We must do what? We must refund difference. Fine. Meaning now we are moving to step 3, refund. Fine. Refund of cash or refund of money. Let's go. For ordinary shares, let me start with ordinary shares. Ordinary shares, look at here. They apply to the value of 444,000, but we only issued to the value of 388,500. So we must do what? We must refund the difference. 444 minus 444,000 minus 388,500, 65,500. Fine. For the second one, 15%, which 15% current share, 117,000 minus 117,000, refund yes 0. So you can see they applied for 117,000 and gave them exactly 117,000. So no need for that. Fine. Then the last one, 10% reference share. Let me see. Redeemable. Fine. They applied to the value of 87,750. Then we offered to the value of 72,900. Then let's see how much that must be refunded. 87,750 minus 72,900, 14,850 must be refunded. Okay, fine. Now listen to me. During step 1, we said these people applied by sending money into our account. Meaning when we refund them, we must refund them with the money from the bank or with the money from our account. With the money from our account. Always when you are doing a refund step, show bank here at the end. You can even say bank money out. By the way, for ordinary shares, how much is money out? Let me record it one time. Fine. Ordinary, ordinary shares. We must refund how much? 500. Then for preference shares, there is no refund because we issued accordingly. Then for 10%, I'm tired much. For 10% redeemable shares, we must refund how much from our bank? 14,850. Then I'm done with step 1, 2, 3. Nothing that is confusing. Again, back to ordinary shares. They applied for how many shares? 240,000 shares. But we only issued 210,000 shares. So the difference is how many shares? 240 minus 210 is equal to 30,000 shares. Let's convert these shares into money, meaning we multiply by the price for each share for ordinary share. Multiply by 1,85. You are going to get the same answer that we have already there. You are going to get exactly that answer there. Let's see. 240,000 minus 210,000 equal to 80,000 shares. Let me write it here. 80,000 shares that must be refunded. And let's convert it into value. So 80,000 to be refunded multiplied by 1,85 is equal to 55,500. That. Let's move to preference shares. Back to the question paper. Redeemable preference shares. Back to the question paper. They applied for 65,000 shares. We only gave them how many shares? 54,000 shares. Then let's see how many shares that must be refunded here. 65,000 minus 54,000 is equal to 11,000 shares to be refunded. Then let's convert it into value. How much each share for redeemable preference shares? 1,35. Then let's calculate the value. You must get the same as 65,000 multiplied by 54,000. 11,000 shares must be refunded. Let's convert it into value. Multiply by 1,35 is equal to 14,850. I'm sure we are on track. There are two ways to calculate the funds amount. You can just take step 1 minus step 2. Get the answer. Or you can just take shares on step 1 minus shares on step 2. Then you multiply it by the rent for each share. Then you get your amount. So today we will put it here. And let me stop recording for that. I don't want the recording to be very long. Yeah, we are done for the night. If there is someone with a question,